Good morning, everybody. Joining us on the YouTube platform of the London Borough of Newham. You should be in the video section of this YouTube site. And just a reminder that the recording will be available after the meeting in that video section. Now, to ensure continued public safety around coronavirus-19, we're advising you, members of the public, that this meeting of the licensing subcommittee will be webcast live throughout. Although all government restrictions relating to meetings held in public have been removed, the provisions of which this hearing is taking place, the Licensing Act 2003, does permit this meeting to continue to take place remotely. Now, today's meeting is quite unusual. It has happened before. This was actually a reconvened meeting from the 18th of January 2022. So I will be, for the benefit of those watching, explaining where we are in procedures. So the bundle, if you wish to follow the agenda pack, is available under the committee section under your council. And we have reached a point where we have gone through declarations of interest, we've confirmed procedures, and the cases pertaining to K Viva, located at 45 West Ham Lane, E15 4PH, in accordance with agenda item 3. And we were at the first representation, which was from the Metropolitan Police licensing team. I better explain that as the elected members make a decision, we thought it was in the public interest to adjourn last time, because we wished the applicant to be present for us to have questions. We thought it was in the public interest to adjourn, and that's why we're starting, not all over afresh, but we're starting at that point where we left off. And we will, again, because of clarity and consistency, we think it's important that the applicant hears the first representation, even though I think you were in the middle of it, Connell, last time. So we're starting from scratch, as it were. Is that agreeable, Bob and Vivian, how we're proceeding? I think it's fairest that way. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Connell, your representation, and it's, I did have a page reference. I've lost the page reference. Can you point it out, anybody, for me?
29, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Tony Wilson. I'm assuming everybody, oh, no, I think we ought to do introductions, actually, for Vivian, sorry. So I'm Councillor Neil Wilson. I represent the ward of Glasgow South, Chair of Licensing, and I'll be chairing this meeting throughout. I'm one of the 3 people who come to the decision on this, Vivian. My colleagues are Councillor Tony Wilson, please.
Councillor Tony Wilson, representing Beckton Ward.
And Councillor Murphy.
Councillor Pat Murphy, Royal Docks.
So we will be the 3 people making the decision. We have been trained in the Licensing Act and its Secretary of State's guidance, but we need legal assistance. So Umair, please, from legal.
Good morning, Umair Malik, Legal Services.
The case officer, please, for this case.
John Chisley, London Borough of Newham Licensing, and I'm the case officer.
And from the Metropolitan Police, who we'll hear shortly, but I thought we ought to have done the introductions anyway, for the benefit of Vivian.
Connell Stowe, Metropolitan Police Licensing.
Ian from Commercial Environmental Health.
Ian McConnell, Commercial Environmental Health.
And Vivian, the applicant, please. You'll need to come off mute. I'll have to keep telling you to come off mute.
Oh,
yeah.
My name is MS Vivian Ezago.
Thank you very much. And your agent?
Is Rob Edge from Licensed Leader Limited.
Thank you very much. Is that everybody?
Thank you, Chair.
Nisha's behind the scenes, but is taking notes, and she'll take notes throughout, Vivian. That's so because we judge it on what's been written, but also what we hear in the meeting. So, Vivian, Nisha, can you introduce yourself, please?
Thank you, Chair. Nisha Lathigra, Democratic Services.
Thank you very much. And so we're at the police representation, page 29, Appendix B. Connell, please.
Thank you, Chair. On behalf of the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, I wish to object to an application to vary the premises licence for K Viva 45 West Ham Lane, E15 4PH, on the grounds of the prevention of crime and disorder and the prevention of public nuisance. The applicant wishes to vary the permitted hours for the licensable activities as follows: Sales of alcohol on sales only from Thursday to Sunday. The applicant proposes a terminal hour of 0300 hours the day following. That is an additional 3 hours on Thursday to Saturday and 3.5 hours for Sunday. Sales of late night refreshment indoors from Thursday to Sunday. The applicant proposes a terminal hour of 0300 hours the day following. That is an additional 2.5 hours on Thursday to Saturday and 3 hours for Sunday. On the current licence, there is no restriction for the hours when recorded music can be played at the premises. Although the agent has initially proposed to vary the hours to recorded music, he has subsequently emailed the licensing authority to state that he does not now wish to amend them. The premises are situated within a cumulative impact zone, as designated in the Newham Council Licensing Policy 2020, that states there is a requirement for the applicant to comprehensively demonstrate that there will be no additional negative impact on the vicinity in terms of the 4 licensing objectives if the variation is granted. It also states that in completing the operating schedule, applicants are expected to have regard to the statements of licensing policy for their area. They must also be aware of the expectations of the licensing authority and responsible authorities as to the steps that are appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. This is usually done through the applicant or their agent submitting a comprehensive and robust set of proposed conditions to be attached to the licence if granted. The applicant's agent has proposed some conditions in section M of the operating schedule, but please do not consider that they are sufficiently detailed to be appropriate and proportionate for a premises that will be operating as a late night drinking venue nightclub. There are also a number of omissions that are of concern of police. They relate to controls of alcohol and measures to act as a deterrent to street drinkers. The crime statistics that are specific to within a quarter of a mile of radius of the premises are submitted. As the final one that I submitted was in July, 45 in June and 45 in July. Thankfully, I've updated them and there has been a reduction. 32 in September, 18 in October and 25 in November. So a reduction, but they are still relatively high.
Sorry to interrupt, Connell. That refers to antisocial behaviour statistics, is it?
Yes, that's for antisocial behaviour. Violence is 25 for September, 40 for October and 24 for November.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Therefore, police would like the applicant to attend the licensing subcommittee hearing to demonstrate that she understands why the area has been designated as a CIZ. She understands the conditions that have been proposed on her behalf, why they are necessary to promote the 4 licensing objectives, and how, if the variation is granted, she will ensure that it has no additional negative impact on the vicinity in terms of the 4 licensing objectives.
Right. Now, can I interject at this point? Have you seen a supplementary agenda item that has come before members within the last 2 or 3 days?
Yes, Chair. There has been some negotiation. The applicant submitted that. I did actually email to propose some amendments to make them nearer to the model wording in the model conditions. I have had a quick look through the supplementary, and I don't think that the applicant has included my amendments in the conditions in the supplementary agenda.
Right. Now, I've agreed with my colleagues to accept the supplementary agenda, Robert, because it's in my remit that I will be asked to accept the report as a matter of urgency for the reasons set out. As it's your submission, I have accepted that as a matter of urgency, obviously, rather than delay this anymore. And all parties that have said that they're agreeable to that, that's my elected members and other people making representation. So I'm assuming that you knew that was already going to be part of the hearing, your supplementary. Yeah. Can I ask
Yes, Chair.
can I ask why it was so late?
Because we were still negotiating with police and environmental health, Chair.
Okay, right, thank you.
And just to confirm the last point, that we do agree with the amended conditions that were offered by Mr. Stoke from police licensing.
Right. So, Connell, the paragraph that I've highlighted in the document, and this was highlighted in my original document, there are also a number of omissions that are of concern to police. Is it your contention, even on brief reading, that there are still omissions?
Yes. Yes, Chair. I don't think there is a CCTV condition included in the supplementary agenda. Sorry, I'm just scrolling down it now.
I'm the same. I'm on two screens, Robert. You'll have to bear with us. If you are aware of something, though, that you've referred to in CCTV, you can point us to a page number.
If I could, for clarity, the document returned by...
No, I only want the CCTV point.
This is
have you got a page number for me first? Sorry, I don't like supplementaries. I'm on two screens, so just give me a page number to start with.
I don't have a page number for this one. It was the amended conditions that were returned by police, and there were entries in red, which were the elements that Mr. Stoke considered needed to be added, and we've agreed. So, for instance, under prevention of public nuisance, he'd put staff and CCTV shall monitor smoking outside, etc.
Yeah. Sorry, can we keep I need to be always up without on mute. If everybody else can keep theirs off. Connell, can you see any reference?
Yes. Oh, yeah, sorry, Chair. It's only just opened.
Yeah, exactly. I'm having the same problem. If anybody else on the call can help us, it's just to speed things up rather than taking ages finding things. If anybody else on the call, the clerk or any of my counsellors or the legal representatives for us, I can't see anything on CCTV myself, but
just in my reading, there is that CCTV, what Rob Edge has just mentioned, but I think what Connell's referring to, the standard model condition where it says there'll be CCTV and the police will have access to the CCTV footage and it should be stored for 31 days. And unless I've missed something, because I'm not sure what the negotiations were between.
No, exactly. And we're at a loss as elected members. I don't think it's helpful. It's always helpful if you've had negotiations, obviously, between people making representations and you. This is quite a late one. Can you pick that up when you come back with your section, please, Bob? Otherwise, we'll go backwards and forwards. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, Chair.
Yeah. Umar, is that agreeable? You are putting your pen up in the air, which always alarms me that I've made an error of judgment.
Oh, sorry, I was putting my pen in my mouth.
Well, personal habits notwithstanding, I'm not going to be judgmental about that. I chew more biros than anybody else probably. But anyway, sorry, Connell, should we make progress? Are you still of the opinion that there are a number of omissions that are concerning you?
Yes, I can't see there is that one reference to the CCTV, but as Umar has mentioned, my intention was that the more comprehensive the more comprehensive wording in the model conditions should be considered by Rob.
Yeah, thank you. And you stand by the statement in your last paragraph that the police would like the applicant to attend, and that's why we adjourn. To demonstrate understanding of why the area has been designated as a CIZ, understand conditions proposed on her behalf, and why they're necessary to promote the full licensing objective. You stand by that?
Yes, Chair. The narrative of this is that Vivian had made two previous applications that were actually rejected by the council, but would have been subject to representation by police. Yeah. And on those, there was no information at all that led us to believe that any indication of her level of knowledge of the licensing laws. So we would like her to answer questions at the hearing.
Thank you very much. Councillor Tony Wilson, anything for Connell?
Connell, just right, okay, Connell, you can hear me, yeah?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Thank you. Just very quickly, have there been any reported incidences emanating from this venue?
No, none that I can see.
Okay. Have you ever visited the venue?
Not recently. When it was operating under the previous premises license holder, it was visited, and there were no issues there. But not since Vivian has. I think she transferred onto the license August, September time last year.
Right, okay. My last question to you is, in your opinion, from what you can remember on your previous visit, or even from the application, do you consider this premises a restaurant, a nightclub, a cafe, a wine bar? What is your perception of this actual premises?
It is one of those confusing places. It is described as a restaurant, but there isn't. The original license was issued under the 1964 Act, when such things weren't specified. So and the grandfather rights. So it came. It was granted a license under the 2003 Act without any conditions on it. But it is described as a restaurant. There isn't a condition stating that sales of alcohol will be ancillary to food, to the consumption of food, which would indicate that it would operate primarily as a restaurant. And with the later hours, it always throws into doubt whether or not it will be a restaurant, or whether it will be a restaurant up to a certain time and then becomes a bar.
Right, okay. Well, I did read something, I think, on the prior license. Let me see if I can find it. Right, I think it's page 47, and it is conditions consistent with the operating schedule, I think, on the previous one. So it's the first paragraph where it says alcohol shall not be sold or supplied on the premises otherwise than to persons taking table meals there and for the consumption by such a person as an auxiliary to his or her meal. So are you saying that is not?
No, sorry, I missed that. I apologise for that, but yes, it is. I mean, I would like simpler wording, but yes, that does indicate it is a restaurant.
It's a restaurant.
Yeah, but again, again, it throws it into doubt if they're going to be open till 2 o'clock. You know, will they be serving food during that time, or after people have finished their food, will they be able to remain there and buy alcohol?
Okay, well, I'm sure we'll take that up with the applicant and their agent in due course. Thank you, Connell.
Anything further?
No, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Murphy.
Nothing from me, Chair.
Thank you. Next, any questions from the applicant or agent to the police?
No, nothing from us at the moment. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Shall we move then to Ian's representation? That's from Environmental Health, and that's page 39 at Sequendum, Ian, please.
Thank you, Chair. Commercial Environmental Health team is making a representation in respect of this application in relation to the licensing objectives of prevention of public nuisance. Premises lies on one of the council's designated cumulative impact zones, as detailed in the licensing policy of March 2020. As such, there is a requirement to comprehensively demonstrate there will be no additional impact on the local area in terms of the four licensing objectives. Preparing this representation, I visited the area on the 3rd of August last year. Nearest residential premises are above this and the adjoining premises. The applicant is seeking to vary the license for on sales of alcohol Monday to Wednesday, 11 a.m. till midnight, Thursday to Sunday, 11 a.m. till 3 a.m., and include late night refreshments and performance of dance. Current license already permits the playing of recorded music with no restrictions. There's been no complaints of noise or antisocial behaviour from this premises in the last 6 months. The applicant proposes to prevent public nuisance by limiting the number of smokers outside to 4 at any one time and not allowing smokers to take drinks outside. Concerned that the applicant hasn't provided any information on how recorded music will be controlled so it doesn't cause a nuisance to local residents. Additionally, no information is provided on whether they will sweep the smoking area at close, and how they will ensure that at closing time customers dispersing do not cause a nuisance to local residents. And that was my representation at the time.
Now, I'll ask you the same question. Have you had sight of the document? I do hope you have the supplementary agenda.
Yes, I have, yes.
And are you of the opinion that they've dealt with your issues in terms of, and can you wait for me to list them here? And I think it'd be clearer for,
yep.
It's always difficult when it's a reconvened meeting and we're doing supplementary. No information on recorded music, you said at that time. Has there been any information on how recorded music will be controlled so it doesn't cause an issue for local residents?
Yeah, they certainly included a condition on monitoring and recording that they're monitoring those and responding to complaints. So they have put that in. They've also offered to reduce the hours to 2 a.m. That's on page 3 of the supplementary. Shall I go through the other issues?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. In relation to the smoking areas, yes, they're going to, as I said before, they're going to limit it to number of 4 smokers at any one time. But they're also going to clean that area regularly. They've proposed a condition there on page 5 of the supplementary.
Yeah.
And they've also proposed they've revised their dispersal policy, and I'm much happier with that. They've offered to turn down the music half an hour before closing time and turn up the lighting.
Which is on page 16 of my bundle.
I think it's on page 15 and 16 is the
60 minutes before if there's a party and 30 minutes for last order.
Yes, and I think that's more likely to result in a gradual dispersal of customers and less likely to lead to a large group of people outside, which always has the potential for noise and nuisance to affect residents. So yeah, I'm much happier with what's been proposed now.
So your original paragraph at the end of your submission was you're not satisfied that the applicant has comprehensively demonstrated that there will be no additional impact on the local area in terms of the 4 licensing objectives. Would you say that you stand by that, or that they've dealt with all your issues?
No, I'm satisfied they've dealt with my concerns.
Thank you. Okay. Now, in the light of that, Councillor Tony Wilson or Councillor Murphy, any questions?
Chair, he's answered the questions I was going to ask.
Right, fair enough. Well, I'm sorry, Councillor Murphy. Do you wish to come in with anything else? Seriously?
No, Chair.
Yeah. Councillor Tony Wilson.
Okay, just very quickly. You visited the property, you said, on the 3rd of August.
Yes, that's correct.
Was there anyone inside? Did you gain entry?
I did go into the premises. There wasn't any customers, but there certainly were staff. There were staff in the basement preparing food. I'm not sure whether the applicant was there, but there were certainly staff on the premises. Yeah.
Okay. In your on viewing the situation when you got there, Ian, what was your natural feel for the place? Did it feel like it was some place where, you know, it was grown adults would go or youngsters will go? What kind of feeling did you get from the premises?
Well, it certainly appeared to be a restaurant. There were, as I said, there was food being prepared. There was also a big speaker though, which obviously gave me concerns about noise levels. But yeah, it looks like a restaurant rather than a bar that might attract younger people.
Right, okay. Did you have any discussions about a noise limiter?
No, we haven't had the discussions about a noise limiter.
Is that something that you would consider, you know, important?
It's possible, but as we don't have any, we've never had any complaints from residents above. Being able to set the noise limiter, we'd need to get access to the nearest residential premises, which may be difficult if we haven't had a complaint. So it would be difficult to set it so that we're sure that it wasn't going to be a problem for local residents.
And this Vivian has had this premises for how long?
I don't think she's had it particularly long, but I think Mr. Chislett would be able to answer that one.
Yeah. Case officer, just a minute, Councillor Tony Wilson. The current licence was transferred on
The 14th of May last year.
Yeah, we're doing catch up a lot, aren't we? So, you know, so the 14th of May, that was during lockdown 2A or something, possibly. But anyway.
That's correct.
Yeah. Tony Wilson, back to you.
Okay. So
sorry, I ought to say Councillor Tony Wilson. I must be formal.
It's okay, don't worry. So from the 14th of May, even though during lockdown, we can consider that this place has been operational.
Yes.
And in that time, you've not received any complaints with regards to noise,
no,
pollution or anything like that, noise and nuisance or anything like that in that time?
No complaints, no.
Right, thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ian.
Thank you.
Right. I think that, if that's, did you have any questions of Ian, Vivian or the agent?
No, I think that our mediation and negotiation with environmental health has been very good.
Right.
And I think we found a very good mutual sort of middle ground on everything, including the reduction of the hours, Chair.
Thank you. Now, Vivian, I can see your hand go up, but it is now your chance through your agent or yourself to say why you should have this variation. So your timing is immaculate, better than mine. So who's going to start? It's either Vivian or Bob to start. This is where we've reached, in accordance for the benefit of people watching. We are now at the stage where we've had the relevant representations on why there are issues with this variation, and it's now for the applicant and their agent to present their case. So who's going to start?
If I start, and then if I get the applicant to follow on after, Chair, if that's acceptable.
Fine, that's fine. Yeah. So Vivian, you've got to be even more patient, but we're on formal ground.
That's right, that's fine.
Good. Yeah. Okay.
Just before I read out the bit that I was going to, I think it is quite key, the fact that there have not been any incidents reported to either police or environmental health with anything in relation to the premises since the applicant has taken over. And even though there are antisocial behaviour crime figures, none of those are related directly to this premises. I think for clarity, there might have been a slight mix-up between myself and Mr. Stoke over the CCTV condition. And I know that the applicant is more than happy to have the model conditions from CCTV added to the operating schedule. And that has just sort of kind of been an admission between us there. I think just to clarify the point that Councillor Wilson came up with on the noise monitoring device.
I am a pedant, but I'm an ex-teacher, so and we're all teachers of English. You mean Councillor Tony Wilson as opposed to me, who is Councillor Neil Wilson?
Sorry, Councillor Tony Wilson, Chair.
if you're an agent, I wouldn't say this. I wouldn't dream of interrupting Vivian on this, but sorry, do carry on.
Okay, Chair. I lost track then. Yeah, sorry. It
Why
was
do you think I
the
did it? Sorry, no, that's not.
just-
That's not.
just the element of the noise monitoring device. I think most people are aware that in section 10 of the paragraph 10 of the section 182 guidance, it kind of indicates that those noise monitoring devices are more suitable for nightclubs, festivals, and the like, and that they're a very expensive installation, particularly for a small business. So I think in conversation, although we didn't discuss the noise monitoring device, I think the elements of the noise monitoring plan and the other measures that were discussed with environmental health would be sufficient to uphold the public nuisance licensing objective.
Have you got your noise monitoring plan in the original submission, or is it in the supplementary agenda that we've agreed should be taken today?
I have to be really honest, Chair. I have 4 subcommittees on the go this week.
Yeah, well, we've had 4. It's not a competition. I've chaired 3, and 1 was adjourned, so it would have been 4. But anyway.
I know, but I'm old and forgetful now. It was most definitely in the first pack.
Yeah.
And I think that it was included in the correspondence between myself and Mr. Stout and myself and Mr. McConnell.
Right. Yep.
So I don't want to repeat everything, but I'll just go through very quickly then. I think we've agreed that the reduced hours were much more acceptable to commercial environmental health. And he also believes that the revised dispersal plan now meets his requirements so that these mitigate any problems of noise or nuisance.
Right.
The police have told us that they've had no complaints or any recorded incidents at the premises in at least the last 6 months. We've amended the operating schedule as agreed with Mr. Stoke and offered the reduction from a terminal hour of 0300 to 200. And the applicant is aware that holding a premises license is something that must be taken seriously. And that's why, and she admitted herself that when she'd done her first application, it was a bit of a minefield for her. She didn't get it right, and therefore sought advice from me to submit this one. I think the additional documents that support the operating schedule, including the noise management plan, dispersal plan, challenge 25 policy, refusals log, the staff training and operation manual, and signage all help to make this a robust operating schedule. It is not, as was mentioned by Councillor Tony Wilson, a vertical drinking establishment. It's a restaurant offering high quality food and beverage to select clientele. And you know, the idea very often in restaurants is people will go and sit in a restaurant prior to their meal to have a cocktail or a glass of something. And then frequently after the meal, sit there and have either a brandy, a port, or a coffee or something, and just have pleasant, quiet conversations. But I'll allow the applicant to elaborate more on how the premises runs.
Thank you very much. That's very good. Thank you. Nice and clear. Thank you. Now, welcome, Vivian. We like people to attend, particularly when we get representations to say that in this case, it was the police and environmental health who made representation. So how long have you had this premises?
I've had this premises since November 2021.
2021 or 2020?
2021. That's when I took over the place.
So only in November of last year.
Oh no, sorry, November 2020. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yes.
2020, yes.
Yeah. Now we're in very odd times because we've had this pandemic, etc.
Yes.
We take that on board. We've had government guidance, but we're hoping that we move into more half normal times at least. So we're not talking about the effects of pandemic. So if I were to ruck up at this, I think your agent described it as a select clientele. You may not describe me as it being the person who selects, but I've selected to come in. Why would I see these ginormous speakers at one end of a restaurant?
Sorry?
Why would these huge speakers be needed in a restaurant?
Okay, I just want to clarify something before I answer the question. When Aeon came to the restaurant, he met me here. I was here. Maybe he didn't know I was the owner of the restaurant. So I was the only one here then. And I made him to understand that this place is highly fortified for soundproof.
Right.
The place is soundproof. If you're playing music here, you can't hear his sound outside. Even the roof itself is soundproof. The landlord made it like that before I even took the place. So this place is completely a restaurant, but we just want to add life to it a bit because most people are at home. They don't go out anymore. And the restaurant, people don't come to the restaurant. We only do Uber, Just Eat, online service. So we just want to make more money to be able to afford this restaurant, to pay for it. That's why we try to incorporate this new, incorporate this into it. And then we want the people to enjoy themselves when they come. Some people want to have parties here, like they want to have birthday parties, they want to have anniversaries. And when they come, when they ask me, when do we close? 12:30, they said no, they take their party elsewhere. And that keeps this place empty all the time. So most people don't like to come in and sit down and then close early and go home. Some work so late, and then when they come back, they want to sit in the restaurant for some time and then play music. Live, they play recorded music just to make them enjoy the place. Right. That's what we do. And the sound system is not that too loud. We don't play it loud because we have matured clientele. They don't like loud music, just that they want music in the background while they are eating and drinking. And we serve food late as well.
So you've anticipated my question there, Vivian. What's the last time that you served food until?
The last time we have buffet here. When they're having parties here, we have buffet. We have some number of parties here. There was no incident because people outside don't even know there are parties going on here.
But you're applying for a variation for the sale of alcohol. It was going to be till 3 in the morning and it's now until 2. So I just wanted to establish, if we were to grant the license to 2 in the morning the next day, this is only on sort of Thursday through to Sunday, with no mention of Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, which are presumably quieter times. But when is the last time that you'd be served a meal at a table? When's the last time you anticipate?
Maybe around 12:30.
Right. So you're allowing basically from 12:30 till 2 people to just sit there and drink.
They eat. We have something we call small chops.
Yeah.
From 12:30, the main meal is closed. Then they have small chops. Yeah. Like we have suya, we have pepper soup, we have jollof rice. Yeah. They can eat jollof rice while they are drinking. They eat jollof rice, which is light, it's not too heavy, but by 12:30, the heavy meal is stopped.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah. Now, one, is it, are you the freeholder, or have you got your leaseholder of these premises?
I have lease. I'm a leaseholder.
Right. And how long is the lease for?
The lease is for 10 years.
10 years. And you're paying a monthly, you know,
Yes, I'm paying monthly.
I can't think of the word. I've lost the words on that one. And my
I'm
last
paying
question,
monthly.
yeah, because my other colleagues will be coming in with questions. You're paying monthly. Are you a local resident? That you don't tell us, you know, because of GDPR, where your actual address. But are you a resident nearby?
Yes.
You live in Newham.
I live just behind
Right.
the restaurant.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Now I'm going to go to Councillor Murphy for questions about, you know, other issues. So, Councillor Murphy.
The essence of this is about two things. It's about the cumulative impact zone and it's about the licensing objectives. What do you understand to be a cumulative impact zone?
A cumulative impact zone is a place that is prone to crime. A place that is already, the police has already, you know, the police has already qualified the place as prone to crime. Because this area is one of it, because of the crime around the place. There are so many homeless people around. There are so many drunkards and drug addicts in the Stratford Center area, not this area. Not this area. Sorry?
No, it's all right.
Not this area. This place is, since I came to this place, it's relatively quiet. I've not noticed any crime around this area. I've not noticed at all.
And I believe that from what I remember and what's been told, that there are no incidents of antisocial behaviour or criminal activity related to your premises.
No, even around the premises, none. I've not noticed any.
Yeah. The other thing is, can you tell me what the 4 licensing objectives are?
Okay, the prevention of crime and disorder, the safety, public safety, prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm.
Right, thank you.
So if I take up one of those, because the objection is, if that's all right, Councillor Murphy, and then you come back? Or,
yeah. No, you carry on, Chair.
We've got a variation applied for, and there's been representation from the Metropolitan Police against this application on the objective of the prevention of crime and disorder. So I'm looking at what your agent has submitted on your behalf and the supplementary that I've agreed. It was late submission. And it says the premises license or designated premises supervisor, that's yourself, shall carry out reviews of security incidents at the premises. Such reviews shall be documented and conducted on a regular basis. How regular do you think those reviews should be?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
Well, you said to my colleague that there was one of the licensing objectives was the prevention of crime and disorder. You've already mentioned, Vivian, about crime statistics and how they relate to the community zone. So I'm quoting from what your agent has put in on your behalf.
Yeah.
Premises this is under the prevention of crime and disorder.
Yeah.
The premises license and or designated premises supervisor, the DPS, and that's yourself, shall carry out reviews of security incidents at the premises. Such reviews shall be documented and conducted on a regular basis and include details of any remedial action identified and implemented. Can you put that in your own words as what you're intending to do about that?
What I intend to do in this aspect, I have to have CCTV in operational here. We already have CCTV all in this whole place. We have CCTV. Then our hours of licensable activities as well. And then we have to have the door, qualified door staff. So when they come, they have to see that we have qualified door staff, like the SIA door staff.
Right, well, I'm glad you mentioned that. Sorry to interrupt, but you see, the next paragraph says, that the premises license holder shall ensure that the provision of door supervisors. Now, door supervisors are not cheap. I understand that.
Yeah.
You're asking us to give you a license variation till now 2 in the morning. How many door supervisors, SII trained presumably, are you going to be employing at any one time?
It's not going to be everyday thing. Only when we have people here. If we know we have clients that are staying late, it's not going to be everyday thing. Like most times, we like to have, they like to have parties here. So when they're having parties, definitely we'll have door staff that are trained.
Well, that makes sense to me, you see, because this clause seems so wide open that it implies that you're going to have them every day, because it just says...
No, it's not every day.
No, well, it ought to say something like, because this is how we get better at doing licensing all the time, because the legislation is permissive, and it could mean that you're having these all the time or you're not having any. It says the premises license holder shall ensure that the provision of door supervisors at the premises is appropriate to ensure. It may be appropriate in view of the event or something. Well, you know.
Yes, in view of events, when there are events here.
Now,
then
it says that if I rocked up at your premises, there'll be no entry or re-entry to the premises after 1 o'clock. Yeah. So if I come in at, I'm going to be a bit awkward with you, Vivian, just say I turn up at 1 minute to, 12:59 or 1 minute before 1 o'clock. I can't get food, but you're saying I can get food. Sorry, I was a misunderstanding. It's big food you're not serving after midnight, or is it, or full meal?
No, we serve small shops like jollof rice. Pepper soup.
Yeah.
We have different types of fish pepper soup, which is a bit filling but not heavy.
Yeah.
It's not heavy, so.
And I think
that's what we serve at that time. So it's good for them to drink with that and have something in their stomach.
Well, my colleague Tony Wilson was saying that about the ancillary to a meal, you see. So that's why I was just trying to do that one. So I couldn't come up to at the restaurant, the cafe bar. I couldn't just come in and have a drink.
By 1 o'clock?
No, anytime.
Of course, you can come and have a drink anytime.
What if I didn't eat anything?
It's a restaurant. If you want to eat, you eat. If you just want a bottle of drink or a glass of drink, of course, we know when you've had enough. We're not going to serve you after that.
Right. I'm going to pass over to Councillor Tony Wilson, because I don't want to dominate this. It's all, for the benefit of those watching, it's all three of us who make a decision on this. So, Councillor Tony Wilson, would you like to follow up in some core questions?
Yeah, just can I firstly just address Rob's statement he made about me indicating vertical drinking. It wasn't so much that I wanted to see if there was only vertical drinking. What I was trying to establish that this was in fact a restaurant and not a cafe, club, wine bar type situation. So that's number one. Number two, page 64, Vivian, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
With regard to...
We're still morning, I'm being pedantic.
Oh, good morning. Good morning.
I'm going to say, I'm worried.
Oh, gosh,
is it me? My clock says 11 o'clock, Tony. I thought we've already gone to 12.
I do apologise. We usually do afternoon meetings, so good morning.
Sorry, like your agent, we've been doing too many meetings.
Yeah.
We are concentrating on your case, so that's why we need to, do the questions clearly. Sorry, Tony. Do go.
Right. So
64, did you say?
Yes. And this is to do with your proposal for noise management plan. No, this is your dispersal plan and wind down. On the chart, you've got 30 minutes. DJ begins to reduce volume and introduce lower tempo music selection. Now, I know because you've gone from 3 to 2 o'clock, that's now going to be pushed up 1 hour. And what I wanted to ask though, you mentioned the word DJ. So do you have a DJ on site all the time, or just recorded music, or do you have a DJ playing music all the time?
No, we have recorded music, but if there is a party, the people can come with DJ. We invite the DJ in when there's a party.
Right.
We have recorded music only here.
That's what I was asking. So restaurant nights, normal nights, you just have recorded
music, yes.
But on party nights, you allow your clients to come in with a DJ, but you do monitor the sound.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Roughly, how many events would you say you have in, I don't know, you've not been doing it very long, but how many events have you had in the last 6 months?
We've had about maybe about five events or more. Thereabouts. Okay. Yeah.
And they're usually birthday parties, are they?
We had birthday parties. We had wake keep.
Yeah.
We have wake keep here. And yes, I think we had about five events.
Okay. So one other thing on page 15 and page 59. Let me see, page 59. It mentions that, okay, in the summary, bottom of the page, I just wanted a clarification. It says, the regulated entertainment will always be conducted to allow customers to hold a conversation without the need to raise their voices. Therefore, the music or films will always be at a very reasonable level. Now, on page 15, where it's section B, and it says films, standard days, timings, and guidance, you haven't put anything. So I'm a bit confused.
Yep.
Will you be showing films, or will you just was you just referring to the music aspect of that summary? Is that you, Rob?
It is. That's a typo on my fault. I apologise.
Are we going to have films or not? Because we've had certain other premises that didn't have a film license. So we're protecting you.
Yeah.
As well.
No, there's no intention to show films, and that was just me not proofreading as thoroughly as I should have, Joe.
I don't want to cast aspersions on where else you've been having hearings, but we are a dissecting committee. We cross-reference. We don't pre-meet and predetermine, but we are very thorough. Yep. So no films to be shown. Yep.
No films.
Right. So, Councillor Tony Wilson, anything further?
Yes. So back to Rob. Thank you very much, Vivian. Back to Rob. Just going back to page 64. So can we assume that where we are talking about the dispersal and wind down zone, that this will all become 1 hour forward?
It will, yes, because of the amendment in the reduced hours, Councillor.
Right, so this is still going to be enforced?
Yes.
It is indeed. And just to add to that, because, and I think we're finding it here at the meeting, there have been, different versions and amendments of all of these. The intention is, should the committee decide to grant the variation, that in the next meeting with Ms. Jones at the premises prior to staff training, we would go through all of these documents to ensure that they've all been updated to reflect what's been discussed and to reflect what's in the operating schedule of the application, Chair.
Right, okay. My very last question is, how often will you be doing training with the applicant and her staff?
At least every 6 months. And certainly for any new member of staff coming in, they would be trained prior to commencing employment.
Okay. How many people?
That was your last question. Yeah, you did.
One more, Chair. One more.
You did so.
I know. I'm just greedy today. Just greedy.
That's fine. I'm just being silly.
How many members of staff are there on site at any given time?
Vivian, how many members of staff?
Right now, we don't have the license, so we've not employed people for that effect now. So we only have the member of staff that are just doing Uber right now. which is about 2 plus me, 3 of us. Because it's not that busy. We don't have people coming in to dine in for now. The place is always empty. The only traffic we have is online. So we just have two staff plus me, 3
So when
for
are you
now.
going to reopen and become an active restaurant?
Yes.
When?
I think if I can help there, Councillor,
yeah.
that part of the, for the want of a better word, the strategy by the applicant was twofold, really. One, to do the variation to get the hours so that she could take more bookings for the likes of birthday parties or wakes or those kind of things. But that would also generate income to be able to extend the menu slightly within the restaurant.
Yeah.
But that she didn't want to overinvest in that or in looking at the recruitment of staff until such time as a variation could be secured. So, you know, it's as long as a piece of string. You know, once the variation has been determined, then part of the plan was to sit down and discuss not just the staff training, the policies and the procedures that go in place, but also a time frame to, I suppose, really, having been in lockdown for the various phases of COVID, to do a relaunch of the restaurant, which I think lots of hospitality venues are having to do, to try and encourage and entice customers to come back out.
That's what I was trying to establish. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rob.
Thank you.
Anything further, Tony?
No, Chair, I'm good.
Right, back to the applicant then. So if you were to be granted this variation, and let's assume that everything, well, you know, some people are so pessimistic they don't think we'll ever reach normality ever again. But, you know, we've had to live with certain other things like flu, in my opinion. But anyway, you've got your restaurant fully functioning, Vivian. You know, assume, though you shouldn't assume anything, but say we were to grant this license. Yep. How many tables have you got in this restaurant? How many people could you cope with maximum? When it's a restaurant, not when it's an event, not when it's
okay, the restaurant can take a capacity of 30 people sitting in.
Yeah, and it's going to be waiter service.
Sorry?
Waiter service.
Waiters. We'll have about 5 waiters.
Waiter service. It says on one page that we've had on our supplementary that people, it's not sort of, because you made reference to buffet, it's a waiter service of staff. So anyway, however they get their food, this is a license, and you've got recorded music, you said in relation to Tony's question. So they're sitting down having a nice meal, but sound carries further at night. We've got some references from Ian and Connell in regards to what public nuisance. Sound carries further at night. Do you understand why we are concerned about dispersal policy? You know,
yes,
leaving on time. And
yes,
you know, it's not just about smoking areas where people can talk loudly, but amplified music shall not be played, it says, on these new conditions, which can cause unreasonable disturbance to the occupants. Have you since you've been there, because it's very weird, all this sort of COVID stuff with lockdowns, etc. You've got a noise limitation, a noise management plan. You've heard from the officer that you can't do noise limiters, but it's not just about people, you know, playing music. It's about when they leave premises, particularly if they've had a few. You understand the reference? You know,
yes.
it may be worse for alcohol. What would you or your staff do in terms of dealing with that?
Yeah, first
because
we have
you described the area, you see, and we can use local knowledge. My knowledge of West Ham Lane is it's not that quiet. West Ham Lane is an area that I've known for the last 40 years. It has quiet zones and more noisy zones, But if you're adding to the issues, and we've, you know, I've been down there with officers actually during the day, and we've had street drinkers. So I'm not, we don't accuse your premises of any of this, but it is in a zone which you rightly indicate is an area which the police have identified. So if you were to be having a well-run restaurant, you know, that's not the issue. It's about how your customers sometimes might actually be too noisy. How would you deal with that? Outside on the street in West Ham Lane.
Outside on the street.
Yeah, admittedly, it's not Stratford itself,
Yes.
you know, and the issues that Connell and others will tell you is the highest crime rate in the borough. So you're not talking about the Stratford centre area, but you are talking still Stratford, and you are still talking Newham, and you've heard the figures. But you've got a dispersal and wind down policy. Why do you think you've put that in?
Yeah, we'll put a sign to make them understand that when they are leaving the premises, they have to leave quietly because of the people around, living around, so they don't make so much noise. And then the staff is going to make sure that they organize the, you know, dispersing of the customers to make sure that they don't affect the community. The noise will not affect the community. And then we also put in place we can get into contract with a taxi company to make sure that when the taxi is around, we just usher them out to the taxi outside, so there won't be any noise. We have to make sure that we take them out slowly into the taxi. The staff will do that. We'll keep a staff in place to take care of those going out. Maybe about 2 staff will be outside to make sure that they don't make noise, because there will be signs out inside showing them they have to take it easy because of the community. That's what we're going to do. We'll put staff in place to take care of that, and they will be well trained for that as well.
I can see Councillor Tony Wilson's hand up. Tony, do you mind if I just ask this one about Uber drivers? Your agent made reference, or you did, to Uber drivers. Are they coming on electric vehicles or motorbikes or cars at the moment?
No. Some of them come in a taxi because there's no parking space, so they just come in taxis. The taxi drops them and go. They don't come in bikes or electric. No. It's just they drive themselves or they come in a taxi.
Right. Councillor Wilson, sorry. The other Councillor Wilson. It's a bit confusing. We got the same surname. Councillor Tony Wilson, sorry.
Vivian or Rob, regarding the smoking area. Now, I'm not sure. Where is it? Is it the front, in the back, or where is your smoking area?
We have a place beside the restaurant, which is an open space beside the restaurant, or the front
to the side of the restaurant or to the front? Is it
outside?
Outside.
It's outside, beside the restaurant. Outside is an open space.
Right.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Is it actually on the Vicarage Lane side? It's not at the back.
No, it's on Mark Street, beside Mark Street. It's just next to the shop.
Right. Sorry.
It's a commercial place there. Yeah.
Right. So it's not somewhere that is cornered off.
Yes.
Is it cordoned off?
Yeah, it is. It is.
So people know that that's where they have to go and smoke.
Yes, they know. When they come, they go outside there right now. If they want to smoke, that's where they go out to smoke.
Where they go, and that's what you and your staff will be maintaining and keeping clean and tidy.
Exactly. Yes.
And how many people will you allow at any given time?
4.
So can you stop other people from outside on the street from going into that area to smoke?
Yeah, the place. Yes, of course.
You can stop them. Yes.
Yes.
So it's only for your clientele.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Right. Questions, Ian, I think, as it's relating to noise and smoking and things. Ian, anything further to the applicant?
I don't have any questions, Chair. Thank you.
And Connell, do you have any to the applicant or agent?
Yes, Chair, if I may ask a few questions, just for clarification, really. You've mentioned can I just clarify? You were asked a question about how many people were in the restaurant, and you mentioned 30. Is that 30 covers or is that 30 people, please?
They may not be up to 30 at a given point in time. They may be less than 30, but I'm saying that the restaurant can take a capacity of 30.
Right, but is that covers as per tables or is that
Yes.
actual people?
Yes.
So it's
All the
30
tables, the
covers.
chairs here takes 30.
Okay, thank you. When you have your parties, your various parties, what is the capacity of the premises then?
That's about 30 as well, or 35.
35.
35, maybe 5 standing or something, but we have a capacity of 30 people for party.
Right, and when you have those, that's when you offer them the buffet. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right, so they're not actually sitting down, they're standing.
No, they're sitting down, they take their food. That's only when we have parties. We offer
I appreciate that, yeah.
when we have parties, because we can't be serving everybody sitting in the table. So they go and take their food and come back to their sitting the table and sit down and eat their food.
Okay, thank you. Right. Rob mentions about drinking after the meal. Once they finish the meal, that they can have, you know, a brandy or whatever after the meal. Would you have a rule on that, on how many drinks they can have? Because it is potentially they can sit there and have several drinks. So would you restrict them to just one drink after the meal?
Of course, if we see that they are already intoxicated, we don't serve any more alcohol. If we see they've taken more than enough, we won't serve them any alcohol. If they take two shots of brandy, that's it. Before then, it's almost time to close.
Right, okay, thank you. And going on from that, please welcome the reduction in the hours till 2 o'clock. And all licensable activities, your sales of alcohol, etc., will finish at 2. But what time will the premises actually close?
Everybody must be out of the premises by 2 o'clock, and then we close the door and do the cleaning.
Right. Okay.
So maybe 30 minutes after, we're all gone, because we have to clean the outside and make sure that everything everywhere is tidy before we close. So we'll take another 30 minutes to do the cleaning and we'll leave.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's not included in the
in
the hours for the license.
Exactly 2 a.m. Everybody should be out of the premises.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm having difficulty. This is it's not particularly that vital, Vivian, but you answered about this smoking area, that you were on the junction of Vicarage Lane and what was the road?
No, we're not anywhere close to Vicarage Lane. We are just next to. We are just adjacent to the police station.
West Ham Lane. Sorry.
Yes, we are adjacent to the police station. The police station is almost opposite us.
Yeah.
So that gives
Mark
us
Street, I do know. Yeah. I got my lanes muddled. That's But in terms of that area, clearly, I mean, we are not that far from Stratford Centre.
Yes, we're not that far from Stratford Centre.
We are near the old police station, correct?
Yes.
We are near the in terms of West Ham Lane, we are near a whole load of issues around West Ham Park. You're aware?
Yes.
Now, these don't necessarily associate themselves with restaurants like yourself, but I'm just coming back to this one about the area. You described it as relatively quiet.
Yes.
Things can be, and that's why we're concentrating on this sort of like after, 1 o'clock or whatever. If you're in West Ham Lane and you're operating a business, with, a recreation ground that has some issues, near going on the way to Stratford, it's not necessarily your clientele, but your clientele being caught up in other issues. So you know, that's why we're stressing that. The
Yeah.
dispersal policy you've talked about. Just one last thing from me. What do you mean by refusals log? And you know, and I presume you're not going to have anybody coming to your restaurant who's unaccompanied under the age of 18. But what's the refusals log about anyway?
If I can cover that one, Chair.
Okay.
What are you having? No, I want to ask the applicant first. Are you having people coming to your restaurant who are under the age of 18 on their own?
No, 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 we've never had such.
Yeah. And what's this point then, Bob? Rob. Sorry, I'm muddling up names now. Rob.
I mean, essentially, and it will form part of the staff training, but the refusals log is part of the policy for Challenge 25. So, you know, standard procedure of anybody who appears to be under the age of 25 will be asked for proof of identification, and the types of proof of identification are specifically listed. And if they fail to produce any form of ID, then it's recorded in the refusals log and forms, as I said, part of the staff training for all staff. And it also helps to demonstrate due diligence by the license holder and DPS.
Right. Councillor, Connell wishes to come back, and Councillor Murphy, I think, does as well. So Connell first, and then Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, I should have asked this previously.
No, don't worry. I've just thought of
going on from what's just been said. Would the applicant agree to a specific condition saying there should be no unaccompanied persons under 18 years of age in the premises?
Definitely.
And the other thing I meant to mention, which is for Rob really, is the license shown on the agenda on page, I think it's page 42, underneath where it's got sale by retail of alcohol, it's got the old standard, and then it's got the above the above restrictions do not prohibit, and then it goes on 30 minutes drinking up time, etc. Would Rob agree that they should be deleted from the varied license if it is granted?
So certainly, I think, you know, at the time of the variation, it's the ideal opportunity to get the license right and you know, cross the T's and dot the I's. So no problem on that.
Thank you. And just finally, would you agree to a additional wording to the staff training condition that all staff shall be trained on the permitted hours and the conditions, please?
No, certainly, yes.
Certainly,
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, that's been very helpful, Connor, because that's where I was going about the unaccompanied children, and also about the quality of, you know, how people know. There's no point in any of us on these, and this is for the benefit of people watching, and I said the same in open hearing. There's no point in us having rigorous hearings with conditions being promised if then people who work at the premises don't actually understand them. I'm not saying they're being belligerent or deliberately avoiding enforcing, but it's about the understanding, Vivian. So it's in your interest that, you know, staff are aware of why we're putting conditions if we were to grant this. Now, Councillor Murphy, you've been very patient. Sorry.
No, it's okay, Chair. I think everybody's covered everything I needed to address.
Councillor Wilson, anything further?
No, Chair, thank you.
Umair?
No, Chair.
I'm asking the legal representative because, you know, that we obviously make the decision. He's here to advise us that if there's anything that's come up and, you know, we wish to come back on. Now, Rob, you are no doubt aware that the procedures adopted under this council are that you can make brief closing remarks. I will tell you off if that exceeds a certain number of word lengths. We don't have any new information, please, and it's nothing else to sort of like, so no rabbits out the hat, please, at this stage. Can we just have some brief closing remarks and then we'll adjourn? Yeah. Well, we won't, we'll deliberate. That's the word I need.
Most certainly. Thank you, Chair. In line with your guidance there, I'm not going to go through everything. I think it would be fair to say that we've tried to do as much as we possibly could with both commercial health and with police licensing to mediate and find the best conditions to suit this particular premises and to alleviate any concerns about the premises being in the CIZ. And that was partly as well the reason for agreeing and volunteering to reduce the licensable activity hours. There's a couple of things that have come out that I scribbled down here. So for instance, when we talked about the dispersal, and Vivian amplified by talking about taxes, I think we'll probably incorporate a very simple but one-page policy for part of the staff training on taxes, so that we have a contract with an agreed company, and that part of that contract is that taxi drivers waiting for clients outside the restaurant not to use their horn, not to play music with their car windows open, those kind of things, and just putting in sufficient measures to alleviate any cumulative impact on any of the licensing objectives. And I think the only other thing I would say is, when Vivian was asked about how many events there had been during the last sort of 6 months, she said that she'd held about 5 events, that none of those 5 events have anything recorded against them in the way of crime and disorder or public nuisance. So I think she's certainly on the right path of doing the right things, and that these policies and the additional conditions that we've agreed today, if the license were granted, would go a long way to ensuring that this premises doesn't add to the cumulative impact. And that concludes my final submission, Chair.
Thank you very much. Now, in accordance with Agenda Item 2, the Licensing 2003 Act Subcommittee Procedure, we are now moving to stage 5, which is our deliberation. The 3 elected members, they're the 3 councillors on the call today. That's Councillor Murphy, Councillor Tony Wilson and myself. We will be assisted by the clerk, who's taken copious notes, because we judge our decision on both what's been written, but what's obviously been said, so it's written and oral. And we have with us our clerk and legal advisors to provide advice on procedure and law as required by us. So we will pass a resolution to deliberate in private, Vivian. That means you can't hear us. We go into a separate room and chew it over, as it were, in ordinary speak. And then we'll come back when we've made a decision. We mustn't predetermine how long we're going to be. So we now wait. Don't press anything, anybody. This is where I get into trouble. We're now going into some sort of electronic, whatever it's called,
thank you,
breakout
Chair.
rooms.
Thank you, Chair.
She's already got on the buttons.
Thank you, Chair. So I've allocated everyone a breakout room. If you could accept that room so that it takes you away from the live broadcast. If you don't go into the breakout room, please remember to keep your video and microphone off, because we will still be streaming live while the committee deliberates. So I'll be putting up a holding slide. So I'm just going to open the breakout rooms now. If you could all just press the join button, and that will take you out of this part of the meeting and away from the live broadcast.
Thank you, Pauline. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are just reconvening for the benefit of those watching us on the live tube channel. We have been in private deliberations. That's the 3 elected councillors who make decisions on these administrative hearings, together with our legal representative for advice and our clerk. And we have reached a decision. I'm just waiting to see if everybody can still hear me. I hope you can.
Yes, we've got the 11 back now, Chair, and the
everybody,
applicant and agent are here.
Everybody's hearing me. Sorry, I'm just doing a sound check, Pauline. So yeah, so it's very clear that we can all hear us, because it's important you can hear us. We have reached a decision, and so this meeting is reconvened, and a decision of the decision of this subcommittee is going to be announced in public together with reasons by our clerk. So over to you, Nisha, please.
Having heard all submissions, the subcommittee have decided to grant the application with the conditions and times agreed during the proceedings. A full written decision with reasons will be provided, with the aim of it reaching the parties within 5 working days.
Thank you very much. Now, it just remains for me to say 2 things. One is, clearly under the law, the applicant and responsible authorities may appeal against that decision to the magistrate courts within a period of 1 day. But also to say that thank you very much for persistence with this electronic sort of meeting. It's never easy. So thanks for everybody's cooperation. And I hope we didn't have sound problems today. We've had sound problems or people coming offline. So thanks very much, everybody. And I hereby declare meeting closed. Goodbye.